Okay, so here it is, the big reveal. Let's see what the brass libraries were here. So number one was the Cinematic Studio Brass, which is becoming probably my favorite now since I've gotten it. I just love the dynamic range of it, and it's just a great sound. Has a similar vibe to their strings and the woodwind one, which just came out. I haven't gotten that yet, but really like the sound of that too. So yeah, so I'm using this more and more. The only thing I would say about the library is the trumpets are a little harsh, maybe. So sometimes I'll use something else, but anyway, let's listen to this first one again. So I use the 4 horns and then the solo horn, trombone, and tuba for this. So yeah, it's really great. Just a great sound. Just love the sound. Really full and clear. It's great for that melody line there up top. Especially the transitions here up to this up to the D. Just that right there. That's where it really shines, I think. Those transitions. It's the same with their string library. I mean, you have to work with it because it has that lag because you have those baked-in transitions. But that's what makes it realistic, I think. So anyway, number 2, CINESAMPLES. And a lot of people, I worked with this a lot actually to try to get it to sound good, but I mean, it is a great library for certain things, but for this kind of intimate thing, it wasn't really able to get there. And that's why I like the Cinematic Studio Brass so much, because it can get intimate like that, but then also really big too. So anyway, let's listen to the CINESAMPLES again. And it's hard to sort of, that brassy top end for the trombone, for example, it kind of comes in right away. And so these transitions are kind of, I mean, if you compare that to the Cinematic Studio. See, that high brassy sound doesn't come in until much further, like halfway up, like an MF or whatever. So that's what I was struggling with this, was trying to get that. So as a result, I had to keep it kind of low dynamically, because I didn't want it to get it too buzzy. And it's kind of like thin sounding when you keep it that low. And I think in general, the Cinematic Studio Brass has some nice body to it. That's fine. I like the tuba a lot on the CINESAMPLES actually. As far as the horn, here's the solo horn. It's actually really nice at that dynamic there. And I had the 2 horns do the top line. But if you compare that to the Cinematic Studio Brass, went a little hotter with it maybe, but it's good, but I don't think it's on par. And a lot of you mentioned that you didn't care for this second example. So I think that's kind of enlightening for everyone. Okay, let's move on to number 3. So number 3, and this is what I assumed going into this, would be one of my favorites. So, and everyone kind of liked 1 and 3, it seemed like. So it's the Berlin Brass, and I just got the Junkie XL, the horn, and it's the 4 horns section, because I wanted to be able to, you know, keep it smaller, because I think there's like an 8 or 9. But anyway, let's listen to the Berlin, then we'll check out each individual. So this is the JXL horns, then with some Berlin stuff mixed in. So yeah, it's really great. I mean, just the sound of it. But the regular Berlin brass excels in like this kind of writing, this kind of choral, softer writing. And then the JXL stuff is more like epic. But it also sounded really nice in this sort of, you know, probably because it's recorded in the same space and everything. Especially that swell at the end is really nice. But once again, this transition here up to the D is really a nice. Hear that little? It's a nice little transition in there. So these guys, they do a great job with their libraries for sure. So this is the horn ensemble. What did I do? Oh yeah. Originally I had, this is kind of interesting, maybe I should play this, but I had it in, let's mute this one. Had it with the solo horn, the second voice. Because originally I wanted all solo instruments for this section, but it couldn't really stack up with the JXL horns. I mean, it's still okay, but I like these two together better. So I ended up using the ensemble and not the single horn. So let's take a listen to the trombone though. So nice dynamics there. So let me just show you that. So see, it keeps a very nice warm tone, only until you get like halfway up with the modulation do you start to get that more like brassy top end. So I really like that it can do these kind of more intimate things. It's really nice. And the tuba is great. Not much to say about this. But it has a nice full sound, but also gets a little brassy up top. But a really smooth transition to the velocity. And just has a really nice realism, I think. Let's talk about the fourth one, which not many people liked. And that's because it's the Spitfire Albion 1, the number 1, not the word 1. So it's the original Albion, which is one of the first. I mean, I got all the VSL stuff when it came out, but then probably the next library that I got was, well, Symphobia, and then I got Albion 1. So there's a lot of great things I still love about Albion 1, especially the bass and cello legatos, that octave legato. I use that all the time still. But anyway, let's take a listen to this, and then we'll talk about it. And it's kind of unfair because, I mean, I was just using what I had. And obviously Spitfire has a nice brass collection, but I don't have that. But so the problem with this is that it's like ensemble patches. So this is like the mid brass. So I did 2 of the mid brass. So it's going to include trumpets and horns. So it's kind of an unfair. I use the Iceni for the lows for this. That's pretty cool, but yeah, it's just very big. It's really roomy. I mean, I could use different mic positions, but that's the thing with Spitfires, it's very spacious. So it's not really going to give me what I wanted for the intimacy of this section. So number 5 was Jaeger. And there's some interesting things about the Jaeger stuff. I actually love it on epic stuff, but for this intimate kind of thing, it struggled a little bit, I think. Let's take a listen. And what I like about it is it's very dark, right? It has a very dark sound. So that's great for certain things, but just wasn't right for this. Also, the thing about Jaeger, let's talk about this because the legato transitions like this, if I do this, it's really loud, like they really like pop out, and I don't think there's a way to change the level of the legato transitions. So I had a hard time controlling, and that's fine when you're like way up in the dynamics for like epic stuff, but for something like this, it didn't give me the control I needed. And it's got that real, I mean, it's just a more like aggressive kind of, let me show you. Oops. Gives you that. It's got that cool like rasp on the bottom. So it's great for stuff like this. It's a very aggressive library. So it's great, but just for this application, it didn't really work. So what was number 6? A lot of people had some issues with it. And I tried really hard to get it to sound good, but we're going to talk about it because it's the, yeah, I don't know why I wrote performance. I think I was going to try the performance samples in here, but this is, anyway. Number 6 is the sample modeling stuff, which actually a few people, kudos to, I forget who it was that identified it. And I'm going to talk about this because I actually love this library, but it has certain limitations. Well, anyway, let's listen to it. So I did some EQing on it because there was a lot of weird stuff happening on the top end, especially. In fact, what did I do? Why? So first of all, well, I EQ'd it a little bit. I gave it a bump. I gave it some more bass at 250 there, that low mid. Took off those, there's some annoying highs, so I did like a low pass. There's some real like harsh, so I try to give it a little more warmth. Also, I use VSS to put it in the space. That's important. Give it that depth kind of. And then I put some Seventh Heaven on it too, the Boston Hall, on top of the reverb we already had. So, but let's check out the. Now, the one thing about this library, though, that I love is that it's just so playable. Like, it's fun to play. And I can't say that for every library. It's just like a lot of, like, it's just very responsive and a lot of fun to play. So it's great, like, writing with it and everything. And just, like I said, it's a joy to play. And here's the thing, like, exposed like this, it's not great because it's very exposed. But I'll use it in, like, dense orchestrations as a layer, and it's really great, especially to give something more clarity. So yeah, I would say when it's exposed like this, it sounds a little synthy. And it's just, it lacks that like grit and that body or something. So but like I said, I mean, in a dense texture and it in a big arrangement, it sounds good. And it's very usable. Especially like trumpets and stuff. Some short trumpet things are really nice. And it's just great going from shorts to longs. You don't have to like do articulation. It just kind of knows when it's short by the release. So it's really smart. And hopefully someday there will be a combination of that and the sample libraries. Maybe like some kind of hybrid that just feels like more fun to play. It's hard to explain when I say it's fun to play. You kind of just have to try it. And it's pretty cool. Especially, I used to use like the breath controller with it. And that's pretty cool. Alright, anyway. So, the bonus video. I did a bonus video of 2 more. Because I was like, let me dig into the archives. And a lot of people liked this first one. And I think it might surprise everyone to find out that it's actually VSL. So let's listen to it. So when the Epic Horns came out, it was a big deal. And rightly so. It's still a great library, I think. In fact, let's just listen to the Epic Horns. And it was their first library that they recorded in the space, like I think it's the Teldec space. Or maybe it's their own space, I forget. But so that was a big deal. And now they're doing that more, so that's good. Because all the other stuff is bone dry, and I'll show you how I treated that. So anyway, let's just hear the Epic Horns first. So great transition, great sound. It's pretty good. Transition there. Oh, it cuts off. Alright, runs over. So that's great. Now, so those are fine because they're kind of in the space, but the trombone is like bone dry. So I put it in the VSS, virtual sound space, which I love. So I just positioned it back there. And then I put it through the reverb. And that So it's not great. This is actually from the original special editions collection. It's a little thin, but not bad. Let's listen to the tuba. Pretty good. So that one's good. I actually liked. I was surprised with the results of this. Yeah. So I'm probably going to bring the epic horns back into the template, actually. And while we're talking about VSL, I also still use the clarinet and the flute in the template, because I love both of those. Still great. Even though they're dry, you just have to use the VSS and some reverb. And I think I did a video about that in the past. But so anyway, after that, the final one was the AUDDICT stuff, which I bought when it was on sale. This is a while ago, but let's listen to that. There's some issues with this too, but so I didn't do any EQ on it, but so it's a little muddy, right? And these are like huge. The problem with this too is I actually replaced the second line with the trombones, because the octahorn is, as the name says, it's 8 horns, so it's kind of really big, so I didn't want to go nuts with that. So originally I had 2 of those, which is like 16 horns for those top 2 lines. So let's listen to just that. It's a little sluggish though, and I don't know, I'm not crazy about it. I probably won't use it in the template, but I just wanted to check it out against everything since we were doing all this other stuff here. Anyway, this video is probably longer than it had to be, but I hope you found that useful. Stuff to think about for sure when you're putting together your template. All right, well that's it. That's our the big reveal. Okay, we'll see you guys in the next video. I'm still working on the bitonal video. We're gonna do levels of bitonality, so that should be interesting. Starting with key relationships that are pretty close, like 1 or 2 notes that are different, to a more extreme example with very distant keys playing simultaneously. And I'll have some, so I'm putting a piece together for that presentation, and also I'll have a list of stuff you can listen to in that, because I think bitonal, it can be very effective in certain things. Has that tension that it's a very unique sound, because it's your ear is trying to process like 2 different things at once, so it sort of has that pulling. It's different than just using like dissonance. So hopefully you guys will find that interesting. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.